Hi, this is Lori Wickdahl. Welcome to Lori Out Loud. This is another back talk, trek talk. I can't believe how many things have just like started to pop into my head, and I'm guessing that they're just like dying to get out. So, after 5 days of having been on the road, I had been walking uphill like every single day. And when I was done at the end of my fifth day and I got to the top of the motorhome where the motorhome was parked, right? And Chris was standing out there with one of my dogs and I had my other dog and I looked at him, right? And I said like, "Oh my fucking God, Chris." I said, like, I can't believe this. I've been walking uphill for 5 days. And, like, man, and then behind Chris from, like, out of nowhere, there's this radio guy who pops his head out and he goes, well, like, yeah, we're like the foot of the Appalachian Highway. He said, like, you're going to be walking uphill the whole time that you're walking through New Brunswick, pretty much. And it's just like, oh my God. And so I quickly tried to gather myself as much as I could so that I could do an on air snippet with this guy and talk to him about my trek and things like that. So I did a quick on air interview, and when he was done and told me that, they would replay it, like with the news and things like that. And so I got in the motorhome and we again ended up taken money. That a lot of stuff happens when I couldn't do anything more, and now see, and there you go. And I'm talking again about how, like, man, do like when I was done and that guy left, I was just like, man, fuck, I can't do this. And like, and that was only 5 days into the 287 days that I was on the road. And like at the end of the fifth day, I was like, man, that's it. Fuck, how much money do we have? Like, can we drive this puppy back to BC? And like this, like, what, like, I was just like, what, was I insane thinking that I could do this? And so we ended up going to Moncton, and we got a hotel in Moncton. And while I'm soaking in the bathtub, feeling really sorry for myself because I've done such a stupid thing and bitten off more than I could chew, and like, oh my God, like, what was I thinking? How could I have done this? But I made a promise, right? I mean, I asked God, I said, you give me a year of not being sick, and I said, I'll walk across Canada for myself and everybody else who has MS. And like, man, bang, a year later, like, I was flying out of Vancouver to Montreal to pick up my motorhome to head out to New Brunswick to start my trek, right? So, I mean, but there again, right? Unless you're out there, you don't really know what it's like. So I'm laying in the tub. I'm feeling really sorry for myself. And so our phone rings, right? And so Chris answers it, and he's talking to this person, and he's like, well, she's in the bathtub at the moment. And I said, I don't care who it is. I quit. I don't want to talk to them. Like, tell them I'm a loser. I'm going home. And so he, being the absolute wonderful individual that he was, I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, literally. He was the biggest angel that God sent my way. And so he made arrangements for me to go to the Greater Moncton MS Society meeting that night so that I could meet these people who had MS, and so that I could share my story with them. And so when I get out of the bathtub and I dry off and we have dinner, and he's like, come on, we got to go. And I said, like, well, where are we going? And so he told me, he said, oh, well, these people want to meet you. And I thought that that's what you were doing. You're out here for yourself and for everybody else. And, like, if you're going to quit it, like, these are the only people that you're going to be able to talk to, so you might as well go. And so begrudgingly, like, I went. And so when I got there, there were all of these people, and various, they had various forms of, and were in various stages of their own battle with MS. And so they said that the president of the chapter said that she'd heard me on the radio, and that they, were hoping that I'd be able to talk to them a bit. And so I didn't know what else to do. And it's funny too, right? Because I was depleted and I was feeling I was feeling a lot. And so I just let it all out, and I told them why. I spent 3 years virtually bedridden, and my dog has saved my life, and they got me walking, they kept me going. And then I asked God, I made a promise that if he gave me a year, I would give everybody a walk, and I would raise awareness, do it for myself and for everybody that can't walk, everybody that's in a wheelchair, everybody that struggles every day to get out of bed and to just deal with things, give people hope, you know. But that I was, I couldn't do it anymore. And it was way harder than I thought it was, and that I was just, I was struggling. And so they just started asking me questions, and then they started sharing their stories with me. And then they just looked at me and they said, like, you can't quit because now you have all these angels on your shoulder, and we'll be there with you every step of the way. And again, it was just what I needed to remind me of why I was out there in the first place, right? I wasn't out there just for myself because I made a promise. And I didn't just make a promise to me. I made a promise. I made a promise to God. I asked, right? I bartered, I booned. Asked, grant me a boon. You do this for me and I'll do this for myself and for everybody else. I promise. This is what I'm going to do. And so when I was really low and I didn't think that I could go on, God gave me these people who shared their struggles with me. And they gave me the power that I needed to pick myself up and to keep myself moving forward. Which I did. And that's my first instance of one of my many moments that get tied together of my grace of God and kindness of strangers, right? Those people shared their struggles with me, and they shared awesome coffee. It was just absolutely delectable, and goodies and things, and they gave us a night of fellowship as well, right? I mean, that's one of the other things too that you struggle with when you're out there, right? Every face is a strange face, every face is a new place, and like the only thing that made it a home really, I mean, me and Chris, yes, but I mean, it was my dogs that made it a home for us, right? I think that they're the glue that kind of kept everything together. So this has been a really long snippet, but it's been a really awesome sharing for me. So my name's Lori Wickdahl. I know a lot of stuff and I like to talk to people. I hope you'll come back for more Back Talk, Trek Talk. Have a great day. Subscribe.